travelled to Ghana in June 2017 with my family, my mum, my dad and my sister. I learned so many new things. I played soccer with the amazing boys in Pram Pram. I visited a radio station. I had a Ghana-style haircut. I made lots of friends. I caught up with some of my extended family, and they love dancing. I walked in the bush to visit the Willy Falls. I travelled on some very dusty roads. My dad worked at a radio and TV station. It made me wonder how his life was all those years ago. Skyy TV. Skyy. I wanted to know everything, so I interviewed him while we were seated in the car. Later, my dad described it as an ambush interview. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Why did you want to work for Skyy and talk about news and everything, Dad?
It's a good question, Zion. And it starts like this, that I wanted to provide for myself. I didn't want to beg anybody for food, so I need to work. And the only thing I knew how to do was to write, to read, to do research, talk to people, understand people and my environment, and as many things I can understand. I like to learn new things.
Yeah, and when you talked about the news, how did you feel about certain news that you were talking about?
I try not to feel anything personal about the news. It is like if I send you to give a bottle of water to someone, you don't stop and then look at the bottle of water and say, oh, bottle of water. Oh, I don't like this bottle of water. Oh, I like this bottle of water. I didn't do that. I just say, well, I've been sent to deliver water and I want to hold it as well as I could and deliver it safely. That's what I did with the news. I understood the news, I looked for the news, and then I delivered it to people, and then people made up their own minds what they could think about it.
So how did you find the news, and how did you tell it when it was sad news? How did you not tell it with tears in your eyes?
That was difficult. Some of the news were hard to tell without tears in my eyes. But at the point of telling the news, if I have tears in my eyes, I wouldn't be able to tell the news. So mentally and emotionally, I took myself out of it and then I told the story. I'll give you an example. Many years ago in Ghana, I think it was in the year 2001, in the month of May, the 9th of May, something happened in Accra. It was called the Accra Sports Stadium disaster. They played soccer, 2 teams, and then I think after they finished playing the games, there was some kind of misunderstanding and the police fired tear gas. And when you experience tear gas, it makes you feel sick. So a lot of people were running back and forth, and then there was a stampede. A stampede means people are just crashing into one another, others are falling, and some others were running, stepped over them, and they died. Guess how many people died? 126 people died.
The mountains. Check with the time now, exactly 4 minutes past 8. This is the Breakfast Show on Skyy 93.5 FM, and Phillip Nyakpo is all set with the major news bulletin for this morning. Good morning, Phillip.
Good morning, Bob. This is the Skyy news. The death toll from yesterday's violent clashes between supporters of Accra Hearts of Folk and Kotoko has risen to 125. The major hospitals in Accra are inundated with dead bodies and several hundreds of injured people. Meanwhile, President John Kufuor has called an emergency cabinet meeting this morning to discuss the tragedy. Ms. Elizabeth Ohene, the president's spokesperson who was at the 37 military hospital yesterday, announced this while speaking to news reporters.
That day, when I went to the office, I worked all day and all night, and it was painful, it was sad, and I could just see the blood, the suffering, and the deaths, and all the families of the people were crying and feeling sad. The whole of Ghana felt very sad, and I was constantly telling that news. I was feeling sad, but I just told the news. It was only much later that I felt very sad about it, and even had tears in my eyes.
So when you were telling the news, how did you feel about telling it? Because if you had tears in your eyes, it would be very hard to tell it. So how could you tell it if you had tears in your eyes?
I don't think that's possible. So I had to work hard to keep the tears away.
Yeah. So how do you feel about working for Skyy back then?
I felt that it was a privilege because the work served many people. It allowed many people to learn something. It allowed many people to understand their environment. And I learned from it myself. And you could say, today we've been going around and you could see so many people know about me, even though I've left Ghana now for more than 12 years. So it's nice that a few people know me, but many of those people are personal friends. So yes, I feel happy, I feel privileged to have been of service.
I've got another question for you. Does Skyy work on the movies or anything?
They were planning to do that. I would have to check from the Skyy owner, the owner of Skyy, the chief executive of Skyy. He's called Wilson Atta. I will check with him and then I'll get back to you on that to know what they're doing. But I also know at the moment they have a recording studio, so they are able to record music. Like, let's say, I know Bob Dylan is one of your favorite musicians. So let's say if Bob Dylan wanted to create a new album of about 12 songs, he can go there to the studio and he can record the whole album. It takes a long time, but I'm not sure Bob Dylan will be coming to Ghana to do a recording.
How do you feel about not working at Skyy now, and how do you feel about working at the Department of Health in Australia?
One of the reasons why I am not working at Skyy at the moment, or even as a journalist, is because I am now a father. You have become my son. And so the responsibility or the need to work as a journalist is not as important as the need to be your father, a good father to you, to discipline you, to be your friend in some ways, to teach you, for you to learn from me. And yes, I'm also learning a lot from you. That's more important to me than continuing to work for Skyy or be a journalist. Right now, I'm a father and I'm also a husband of your mother.
And how do you feel about you leaving Skyy, and how do you feel about Skyy getting more improved?
I left for a good reason, because I wanted to move on with life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is all right, but I do miss it. I do miss it. One of the things I must say, Zion, is that sometimes I wish that Skyy became much better after I left. I wish it was, because I feel like people are building on what
It's already been built.
is what has already been built. But when I come back and I feel like it is the same, or maybe not, or a little bit less, it makes me sad. But I still have hope that it will get better. Now, regarding the work I do at the moment in Western Australia, I like it because, as they say, it pays the bills. So as my son, you can say you never go hungry. We pay our electricity bills, and water bills, and we continue living. And then we have friends over for dinner, and we live a happy life.
And how much money did you get when you were working at Skyy?
It wasn't much, but it was enough to look after me.
Yeah. And then you moved on with life and
And became your father after I married your mother. Yeah. And we eventually had your sister, little Fafali. Yeah.
And it's a very nice story that you told about Skyy and how you felt when you were trying to tell the story. It was a very nice story.
Thank you very much, and I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.